This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Worldwide toll-free, 800-610-7035. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV. And our main website where you can listen to the X-Zone 24/7, 365, www.xzoneradiotv.com. And you're listening to the X-Zone on the X-Zone Broadcast Network and on the Starcom Radio Network. Now, here's a question we're going to ask you all. Are we picking a fight with an 11-ton alien? Well, while NASA's top scientists say we will likely find signs of alien life in the next decade, the world's most famous physicist, Stephen Hawking, and a Russian tycoon, Yuri Miller, seek to hasten that discovery. Now, due to the spontaneity of life's occurrences in the universe, Hawking says there must be other examples of life beyond Earth because space is infinite. He and Milner are jump-starting a $100 million hunt for this life, even though Hawking has reiterated that an advanced alien civilization would have no problem wiping out the human race the way a human might wipe out a colony of ants. Now, our guest this hour is Robert Buettner. His best-selling debut novel, Orphanage, 2004 Quill Award nominee for Best Science Fiction Fantasy Horror Novel, was called the Post-9/11 Generations Starship Troopers and has been adapted for film. He was a 2005 Quill nominee for the Best New Writer, and Balance Point is his 8th novel. Wow. He is a former U.S. Army intelligence officer and a National Science Foundation fellow in paleontology. He was an attorney of record in roughly 3,000 cases, and he's practiced in U.S. federal courts, administrative tribunals, and in 13 states and 5 foreign countries. Joining me now is Robert Buettner. And Robert, welcome to the X-Zone.
Good evening, Rob. It's great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure, sir. Congratulations on your books, number 1. Number 2, scares the hell out of me when I hear Stephen Hawking say that these aliens might just kind of wipe us out as we wipe out a colony of ants. Do you think it's a good idea for us to go seeking aliens, even if it's only to listen to them, like SETI does, or claims they do?
Okay, well, I think... First, let's amplify a little bit more about what you were mentioning at the outset, which is what is new in the field of listening. Mm-hmm. And as you said, what's new is that in late July, Yuri Milner, who is an internet tycoon, Russian internet tycoon, he did in fact pledge to spend $100 million over the next 10 years. And the program that he sponsored, or with a co-sponsorship, at least in a celebrity way, that Stephen Hawking was giving, lending to the program. The program is called Breakthrough Listen, and Breakthrough Listen is going to watch, because we have some new technologies, new optical technologies, and mostly listen by radio astronomy for intelligent life beyond the solar system. Now, just as you pointed out, SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, has been actively doing exactly that since 1960. And SETI hasn't heard a peep. So the question I suppose that we ought to clear up right off the bat is, so what's new here? And what's new here is the $100 million. As mainstream astronomy has been treating searching for aliens as kind of the kooky stepchild since 1960 when it started. And so SETI's been living paycheck to paycheck longer than our presidential candidate Marco Rubio has. And now that's going to change, and that's really a great thing. But that's not the only new thing that's going on there.
What else is new, sir?
No, yeah, and the other new thing is the star power that's being brought to the program now. Stephen Hawking, after all, for most of us personifies the smartest person in the room, and he's lending his celebrity to the project, and so are lots of other prominent scientists. Heck, it's an impressive catalog, and that's a great thing too. Now, I suppose the question then becomes, well, why is this great, and what's the upside if we're successful? And what's the greatest single benefit to mankind of discovering an advanced alien race? For me, at least, I guess that maybe Donald Trump would have to quit claiming he's the smartest being in the universe. But leaving that aside and addressing more seriously, if we could, for example, eavesdrop on Home Improvement Alpha Centauri and learn how to convert old newspapers into a flux capacitor, that'd really be a world bender for us.
Yeah, it sure really would.
Yeah. But, if you really stop and think about it, we're talking about light years of travel time between messages, gulfs in language, in so many ways, that kind of specific benefit is really unlikely. If we discover that we're not alone in the universe, the real likely world bender is going to be philosophical. Stephen Hawking said, we're intelligent, we're alive, we want to know. Our horizons, our sense of self as a species is going to shift in more ways than we really can even begin to count.
But let me ask you a question, sir. What happens after $100 million is spent and they haven't found anything? They drop another $100 million into the project, and once again, nothing is found.
Yeah, I think the important thing to realize there is that how vast all the dimensions that we're dealing with here are. I mean, the vastness of the universe, the vast number of first off stars that are out there, and then on top of that, also we've got questions of timing as well. For example, Earth's been around for how many billion years, and since when have we been as a civilization capable of looking in a serious way out into the universe? Less than 100 years, less than an eye blink.
Yeah.
So we don't know. Civilizations could come and go, and they could have been screaming at us 1,000 years ago or 200 years ago. We wouldn't have had any idea they were there. So I think we don't we do ourselves a disservice if we presume that if we spend a lousy $100 million that we're going to be able to close the door. We aren't going to be able to prove that negative. I think kind of what your question kind of goes to something called the Fermi paradox. Are you familiar with that? Would your listeners be familiar?
No, sir. Explain it to us, please.
Okay. Well, first thing is Fermi, Enrico Fermi was a physicist, brilliant physicist. He's best known for having created the first nuclear chain reaction in the late 1930s in a laboratory underneath the bleachers in the University of Chicago football stadium, and from that we got atomic energy. And Fermi was having lunch in the cafeteria. I guess I have this vision that it was like the Big Bang Theory or something. And he sits down with all of his colleagues, and they're all talking about how there must be life because in the universe because of the vast number of stars, the vast spaces, and so forth. And Fermi says, "Well, but the question is, then where is everybody? If there are all these civilizations out there, why have we seen no evidence whatsoever of any of this?" And that, I think, is kind of what we need to recognize, is that the fact that we haven't seen anybody, the fact that nobody's shown up on our doorstep, isn't really proof of anything. There are a lot of reasons for that too. A lot of answers to the Fermi paradox. We just touched on one, which is the possibility or the difficulty of simply timing. We've been around as a species for 1,300,000 years, give or take 500,000, and and during most of that time, nobody would have known we were here, and if they did see us down here, they wouldn't care, because all we were doing is beating each other on the head with rocks. So that's not. We've got that problem. We've got the problem that we've got this tiny window when a civilization is able to reach out to the universe, and we don't know how long that window stays open. There are any number of things that can happen. We could blow ourselves up tomorrow, quite literally and realistically. We could, there can be racial senescence. There can, frankly, be the time at which we say, you know what, this isn't worth it, as it is now, unless an internet billionaire comes along and says, I'm going to kick in $100 million, we can't find the funding to even try to find extrasolar life. So there are any number of reasons why the Fermi paradox really doesn't trouble me, at least. It doesn't trouble most science fiction writers.
No, that's because that's what science fiction is based on, the possibility.
Sure.
Without the possibility, there's no science fiction. And this is what concerns me, is you have the people at SETI who have been trying for years and, working with Berkeley and working with all the SETI at home people. They have been scanning the different frequencies for years and years and years. Now, I've had the pleasure of meeting Seth Shostak and having him on the show a number of times.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I said to Seth, I said, well, what happens? I said, it's great that you're doing this, Seth, but what happens if the signals are not being sent out by a carbon-based unit? Let's say that civilizations on other planets are, let's say, silicone-based.
Yeah,
they're transmitting something that you're not listening for.
No, I mean, if we wanted, for example, just take another possibility.
Okay.
Just look at for example, and again, there are as many scenarios here as there are extrasolar planets, and that number is now already up in the tens of billions.
Yep.
But if you consider that, for example, hypothesize a world that subsists in the aquasphere rather than the atmosphere, rather than subaerially like we exist. if you consider the life that's evolved on Earth in the aquasphere, whales, dolphins,
Yep.
and so forth, they communicate by echolocation. They probably haven't seen the stars. Maybe they have. I don't know what they think about them. But you wouldn't expect them to communicate in that way. Now, one of the things that Breakthrough Listen, the Milner-Hawking initiative, is doing differently. They're going to fund some of the new technologies, and they're going to fund some of the new optical methods of looking. For example, there are a lot of folks out there that are postulating now that what we've got, what we may have out there, is some sort of an interstellar internet where information is carried by laser beams. Now, I'm not really quite sure why we should all of a sudden get on board that train, but they're saying, well, so we need to be looking for that because that seems like a really good way to communicate. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe. But so they're going to be doing a lot of things like that, but and that'll be different. But again, the universe is just so vast that that not finding something, not hearing something, is really not going to disprove much of anything. I think really the question I think that is troubling and intriguing is what happens if we do find something, and that I think is, like I say, we've got the good side,
Sure.
like we talked about before, and then we've also got the downside.
Yeah.
And
But
you
how?
look at,
But how will we know if we hear anything that is worthwhile if we've never heard what they're listening for before? Like, how will they know?
yeah,
They're using. They're using.
You mean how the other folks on the other end of the conversation?
No,
or
on
you
this
talking about
end.
here?
On this end, how are we
Yeah.
going to know if there is anything that is being transmitted that is a message from another star system, another galaxy, another universe, when what we are doing is putting all our eggs in one basket using our science, looking for advanced scientific messages? Like, it makes no sense.
No, I think that point is well taken. I don't know that. I think Milner's point is that we have to keep trying. We're just too darn curious to just say, oh well, we probably wouldn't know what we were listening to anyway. Let's just wait and see if they, if we wake up one morning and the mothership is overhead, then we'll know. And if we were, and basically that, frankly, is the attitude of most of the establishment. William Proxmire, senator in the States, probably 20 years ago, he used to hand out something every year called the Golden Fleece Award for the most wasteful government spending.
Right.
And at that time, the government had kicked in about like $70,000 to SETI or something like that, and and he made a great this that and as we hear all the time, we've got so many problems in this country. People are starving.
Yeah.
There are these things. Our roads are crumbling. We just can't afford something that's this speculative. And Milner's answer to that is, number one, well, it's my money.
Yeah.
And number two, it's important that we at least try. And Hawking agrees with that. Hawking agrees with the trying part, the listening part. Hawking and I have serious concerns about the active phase of an investigation like that, trying to transmit out there, broadcast our existence.
Well, yeah, because
So
you never know what
we get in trouble.
I agree, because what we may be broadcasting in one way may be taken a totally different way on the other end, or else we're going to be sending out a beacon saying, "Hey, we're here."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's exactly the worry. I mean, if the first response we get back is, say, by the way, are you guys available in extra crispy also?
Yeah, put a whole new meaning on McDonald's, right?
That'd be a very discouraging message to receive, and that is a troubling aspect of it. And actually, it's kind of interesting that Hawking is lending his celebrity to the Listen Project, because in 2010 he said, as you mentioned at the outset, he said that really the only predictive analogs that we can apply to first contact are mankind's historic contacts between advanced and less developed human cultures.
Yep.
And most of us know how that turned out. I mean, Native Americans meet smallpox, and oh, by the way, this is General Custer.
That's right.
And so it's, unfortunately, the record, such as it is, isn't very encouraging. One of the things that happened, one of the great divining divides, if you will, in science fiction, has been the Arthur C. Clarke version, which is this Space Odyssey version where aliens are mysterious and benign.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the H.G. Wells and progeny up through, frankly, my books, where the aliens really don't like us very much, and they're a lot better equipped than we are, and we kind of get our butts kicked for a while.
Well, doesn't it only make sense that if the aliens are here, they're going to be better equipped than we are?
That's a excellent point, and the answer would seem to be, of course they would be.
Yeah.
And indeed, if they can get here, they're probably so advanced that they wouldn't view wiping us out much more differently than we would view landing on a planet and crushing some of the lichens, under the spaceship.
Yeah.
So it becomes very difficult to justify. I mean, as I said, it's already difficult for our institutions to justify spending on looking. But the thing that I find interesting is what we are doing and have done with regard to the question of who's in charge of whether and how we do introduce ourselves if we do hear something back. And is it the United Nations?
Well,
is it
Well, doesn't the United Nations already have a department that was set up to be the emissaries for planet Earth?
I think that's probably true. I'm not sure if that's apocryphal or not. I kind of have a feeling that I don't know where their office is. I don't see much evidence of them. I haven't run across them in any of the research that I've done for my books.
Right.
I mean, for all I know, you could have 50 guys who get together and crowdfund a radio telescopic transmitter speaking for the human race. I mean, Donald Trump could end up deciding he wants to speak for the human race. But actually, the Milner-Hawking initiative does have a part of its program that addresses that. They start out with the program as it's Breakthrough Listen.
Right.
There's a second part which is called Breakthrough Message. And again, maybe your listeners aren't exactly familiar with Breakthrough Message. And what that is it is a contest to create the message that will be sent, and for a prize of $1 million. Now, the way I view that is, after 1.3 million years of evolution, after inventing the calculus and landing men on the moon, the first message that the human race sends to the stars will be the one composed by the last contestant not voted off the island. That's scary. And I think it is. I mean, we really, frankly, there isn't really any plan. If you, Jill, I can't ever remember if her name is pronounced Tatar or Tartar, who was the director of SETI for a few years, said that she said, "Yeah, well, we have a plan. We're gonna issue press releases." She said, "We have a bottle of champagne in the refrigerator at the Hat Creek Radio Observatory." I mean, but that's kind of as far as the plan really goes. You can envision, and I think a lot of us sort of assume that there's a plan. And the reason a lot of us assume there's a plan is because we saw Contact.
Yes, with Jodie Foster,
Right. That was the 1997 movie where Jodie Foster got cheated out of revealing alien intelligence by James Woods and mediocre special effects. Yeah. And that's the thing. We kind of all assume that that everybody's going to get together and the president's going to address the nation, and and he's going to address the United Nations, and we're all going to get together and we're going to and.
But don't forget, we're going to have marshmallows. We're going to have marshmallows. We're going to have a bonfire, a guitar, hold hands, and sing Kumbaya.
Yeah, it's assumed that a lot of those kinds of things will happen. I don't know. Actually, though, a lot of the worries may already be too late. I mean, we've been leaking Meet the Kardashians and 2.5 Men into space at the speed of light for years now. And I mean, any intelligent species is going to view that as an act of war right there.
Oh, sure.
So, and so there are those kinds of issues. In fact, to go back to what actually Contact was based on, Carl Sagan's attempt at a novel, and it was a pretty neat novel, actually, called by the same name. And as they pointed out, or as one of the events in Contact, well, let's not get into that anymore. But what I think, as I say, that we've got here is that it's still a search that we ought to be making. I don't think we're going to face the problem of having found something. Maybe we will, but that's not really what I expect is going to come out of it. But I think as long as people like Mr. Milner and Professor Hawking say let's keep looking, I'm on board with that. I'm just not so much on board with the broadcasting part.
Robert, you and I have to take a small commercial break. Please stand by. Great having you on the show, sir. I'm thoroughly enjoying this conversation. Exonation.
Absolutely, me too.
Our guest is Robert Buettner, and he is the author of Orphanage, as well as, let me see here, it was nominated in 2004 for the best science fiction fantasy horror novel, was called The Post 9/11 Generation Starship Troopers, and has been adapted for a film. Now, his website, www.robertbuettner.com, that's RobertBuettner.com. And we'll be back on the other side of this short commercial set as we continue. We're right here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Some
if your advertising dollar is really working for you? If your ad would have been here, you and more than 4 million people would be listening to it right now. Contact ads at xzoneradiotv.com. The ability to access the knowledge of the universe is much easier for us to access than we may believe. Brad Johnson, conscious matrix communicator, is one of these unique individuals who is able to access a strong connection to the universal mind. Through his connection, Brad has assisted thousands of clients from all over the world through natural intuitive assistance. The intuitive information received is vast, covering a wide range of subjects. Brad's innate ability includes being able to access one's own universal matrix to help them realize their potential to create a life of profound greatness. One-on-one private sessions with Brad Johnson are available to anyone from around the world. Brad is also a proficiently trained psychic, Akashic Records reader, an online spiritual teacher, founder of his own unique and powerful healing system, Body Regeneration Healing, as well as a professional conscious channeler in communication with his own higher self-consciousness known as Adronis. For more information or to book a service appointment with Brad Johnson, visit his website at www.consciousmatrix.com. That's www.consciousmatrix.com. Do you think you have energy problems in your home? Do you feel better when you're away than when you're home? Joey Korn is a global leader in the world of dowsing who specializes in personal energy clearing and space clearing. He can help you create an ideal energy environment in your home no matter where you live in the world. Learn about his remote spiritual house cleaning services and much more at www.dowsers.com. You can get Joey's book, Dowsing, A Path to Enlightenment, as well as other dowsing books and tools, Kabbalah books, and Walter Russell books. Joey's work is really amazing. Go to dowsers.com right now. That's DOWSERS.com or call 1-877-DOWSING. That's 1-877-369-7464.
Wouldn't you love to know the secret to everything? Well then, meet Dr. Kimberly McGeorge and her cutting-edge breakthrough knowledge that combines science with possibility. Dr. Kimberly brings real-life answers and healing to those open to alternative solutions. She teaches solution-based programs and classes that will change all areas of your life forever. Specializing in conscious creation, intuitive readings, and energy medicine, you can rapidly shift health, relationships, business, and money and abundance challenges quickly. Receive her best-selling book, Secret to Everything, at no cost by going to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone. That's right, transformation can start now. Just go to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone and receive Dr. Kimberly's book for free.
My name is Michael Telstar, Canada's leading mentalist from Toronto, Ontario.
Hi, my name is Splenda, and you're listening to my dad, Ron McConnell, on the X-Zone.
This is Psychic Dorothy from St. Catharines, and you're listening to Rob McConnell.
Hello, my name is Holly Reeves, an astrologer from Astro For You, and you're listening to Canada's #1 paranormal radio show, The X Zone, with Rob McConnell.
Welcome to The X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. Before we get back to our guest this hour, I'd just like to remind everyone that Wednesday, September 30th, from 8 p.m. Eastern until 10 p.m. Eastern, here in the X Zone, the debate of the UFO century. Stanton T. Friedman, the great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather of ufology, is going to be debating the Billy Meier case with the North American representative of Billy Meier, Michael Horn. That is September 30th 8 p.m. until 10 p.m. Eastern, right here in the X Zone on the Starcom Radio Network and the X Zone Broadcast Network. Robert Buettner is our special guest this hour, www.robertbuettner.com. Robert, what is your personal take on all the different UFO reports that seem to be coming from various parts of the world? And if these UFO reports have any credibility whatsoever, why are we looking to listen to a signal when apparently, according to a lot of people, ET is here?
Well, let's see. I have to tell you that I'll show my age here. As a kid, I could not get enough of Project Blue Book.
Yeah.
I read every scrap of everything I could get my hands on. I would love to think that there are underground hangars at Area 51, and that they've got a mothership down there, and bouncers, and the whole 9 yards. And the thing is, though, there are some very credible explanations that tend to dismiss a lot of those reports, and depending on how you want to take them, you can say, well, I don't buy it.
Yeah.
But the problem is, I don't think we've really seen the kind of information that makes me think that UFOs are really coming here from elsewhere. I'm going to need a little bit more before I'm going to jump on that train. I think, for example, I found more credible the hypothesis that was postulated in kind of an underappreciated film called Live, Die, Repeat, not the part about the time travel, but the idea that, we're just as likely to have some organism wind up here because it wandered in on a meteorite. Yeah. And so I just, as I say, I don't see it. From what I can tell, from what I can read, there's no credible evidence that there's ever been even an extrasolar object that's landed on the Earth. If there's been there have been a lot of there have been a few reports of what people thought were extrasolar meteorites, for example. And by and large, those have proven, based on spectrographic and other analysis, that no, they're actually from within the solar system. I'd like to believe that there's something in the solar system besides cold, dead rocks, but that's becoming a tough sell based on the empirical evidence that we're seeing.
See, I have a problem with that as well, sir. I'm the first one to say, listen, I want to believe, but prove it to me.
Yeah, I think we're getting into at some point there. I understand the concept of faith.
Yes,
I understand it, particularly in a religious context. But if ufology starts to become a religion, well, then let's just call it that. If that's the best you've got, then maybe we need to shelve those books in a different section of the bookstore.
Yeah.
But I'd love to see. Oh boy! I mean, I can't wait. I don't know. I can't tell you how many stories I've written that turn on. In fact, there's a free novelette that's up on Bain.com right now that deals with an extrasolar object, that talisman that comes into human possession, and those things can happen. that, of course, is one of the great things that science fiction can do for us. I mean, it doesn't really predict what happens in the future. What it does is it reflects the zeitgeist, the spirit of the time in which it's written. But anyway, as I said, I think we just need to either put it, if we're going to put it on a scientific footing, then let's bring forward the information and let's have a debate about that. But if it's just going to be you either believe or you don't believe, then we're getting into a different area.
Why do you think, sir, so many people today are seeking answers to the problems that we face here on this planet in the stars? You've got the people. I've had people on this show who have told me that there are 81 different species of extraterrestrials here on the planet now. I've had a gentleman come on the show last week who told me that Queen Elizabeth and other members of the royal family are really reptilians in disguise. I've had another gentleman on the show who said that as a member of the United States Air Force, he actually took extraterrestrials from Area 52, not Area 51, Area 52, into Las Vegas as their tour guide because their interstellar ship would land in Area 52 for refueling and picking up new passengers. I could go on and on and on. They seem to be searching for something. Because whenever you ask any of them for proof, there is none. And yet they are so convinced that what they are saying is real.
Yeah, and I think I don't want to rain on any parades, especially not a parade that I really, really, really want to be part of. I think it's a little bit like I've had similar conversations with people of various organized faiths who have the same sort of literal certainty about their particular version of history. It doesn't seem like there can really be several of them out there. So, I have some difficulty with it. I don't have any trouble. I think that's probably why I gravitate to writing science fiction, which is a field where there's enough science to hang my hat on, so I can suspend my disbelief, and I think that's what my readers are looking for. People who want to go, and there are, so very many of them who want to go in the direction of, vampires and zombies and things like that. Okay, if that floats your boat as far as storytelling, then by all means, enjoy. Yeah. We actually, George R.R. Martin, who actually used to write as much science fiction as he did fantasy. George says that with regard to that, basically when you construct a story, whether it's science fiction story, fantasy story, and obviously he's expert in constructing both, he said, well, the basic story is like building a house. You've got a foundation, you've got wall structures and so forth. And he said, and then whether what you put in there as furniture, that's what distinguishes between fantasy and science fiction. He said, when you really come down to it, he pushed the button for the hyperdrive and then isn't really that much different from he cast the spell and then, and I think that's part of it. Some of us really like to have our faith cloaked with an extension of science, and some of us find it in other places. So I tend to, and people who enjoy my books tend to find the tend to find what satisfies them, what helps them suspend their disbelief in at least a basis in science. So,
let me ask you this question, sir. Should America be more entrepreneurial when it comes to space?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, it's this goes to a point that's been made for, well, really since the field's been around, and the guy who I'm very flattered to have my fiction compared to sometimes is Robert Heinlein.
Oh yeah,
and Heinlein, of course, NASA struck a medal in his honor because so many NASA employees got into the field because of his science fiction in the 30s, 40s, on up through the 80s when he passed away, and Heinlein always based his work in the science of the time, and I think he was successful because of that, and we've seen that go forward since then, and so I don't know. I'm not sure if I've really answered your question, but.
Yeah, I know with what is going on, you've got the different aeronautic companies that are kind of stretching their wings, and they want to get into the space race because it's going to have a lot of good opportunities.
And that actually that's the way that Heinlein always envisioned that it would happen. And I don't think. And we're starting to see it a little bit, SpaceX, Elon Musk and SpaceX, for example. But the thing is, it's just so, these kinds of things, these are huge efforts. For example, we were talking earlier about the Breakthrough Listen program and how Milner was going to invest $100 million. And, all the search for extraterrestrial intelligence people are just absolutely over the moon about that because that's so much money for them. And yet, $100 million won't get you very far if you're actually trying to get beyond near-Earth orbit. It won't get you very far at all. So, to go back to the early history of SETI, I mean, they were living hand to mouth, and the biggest thing that had happened in terms of funding, I think, with SETI was when Paul Allen, the Microsoft, I'll call him a co-founder, who owns the Seattle Seahawks and is capable of philanthropies, kicked in $10 million to build the Hat Creek, or to build the initial phase of the Hat Creek Radio Observatory in Northern California. And so I think that when you say, I think we are entrepreneurial in space, as much as a society can be. But I think it's just that the job is just too vast. I just don't see how it can happen unless, as a society, we find a reason we need to get out there. So.
Do you think that we should continue our manned space missions to the moon, or should we just leave the moon alone and get on to bigger and better things?
Well, at this point, there have been a lot of hypotheses put forth about reasons why it might make economic sense to go to the moon and to exist on the moon. But frankly, so far, one thing about it, I'm kind of a believer in the free market in the sense that if there's a reason for it, if somebody can make a buck doing it, they're probably going to try to do it. And even if they just think they are, then they'll take the chance, they'll take the risk, and they'll persuade people to go along with them. And we just don't see that happening. And I think same thing. The problem, what one of the characters, one of my books says, that war is invention as manure is to marigolds, and that's, you know, unfortunately that's kind of the truth.
Yes, it
when
is.
we had, you know, we didn't go to the moon. You know, the reason that when we got to the moon, there were American flag patches on the guys' uniforms wasn't because everybody thought it looked nice. I mean, it was because we were making a statement.
Yeah.
And the only reason that we went to the moon really was political.
Yep.
You know, we needed to because we thought we had a good system, and those other guys had a system that was going to wind up on the ash heap of history.
Well, plus Russia had already beaten the crap out of America in the space race anyway.
Yeah. Though again, the more you read about it, the more you realize that the appearance of having beaten the crap out of us was really the problem.
Yeah.
That those things that the Soviets were doing, weren't that far ahead of where our projects were. We were just kind of chunking along because nobody had lit a fire under us. And then once the fire was lit, then this economic engine, the economic engine, I'll call it, of North America, because I used to live in Calgary for a while, so
I won't hold that against you.
I was just going to say the opposite. You know, if you'd have come out from Hamilton during Stampede Week, we would have cut off your tie.
Yeah, so there you go, eh?
There you go, eh? So,
Robert, I've got to tell you, my friend, that our time is up for tonight. But I would love to have the opportunity of having you back on to further discuss this and keep track of what's going on with Professor Hawking and Mr. Milner. So let our listeners know how they can find out more about you and where they can get copies of your book.
Okay, well, my books, there are 8 novels. There's a lot of free fiction that's available on Bain Books website. Bain is effectively, it's an independent publisher that's effectively the science fiction imprint of Simon & Schuster. And there are 8 Robert Buettner novels. They're available wherever books are sold, including Amazon, of course. They're available as physical books. They're available in all the popular electronic formats and as audiobooks. And again, the best way to find details about those novels and how they all fit together, which they all do, are at my website. And as you mentioned, that's www.mynamerobertbuettner.com, and the last name is spelled Buettner.
Robert, thank you so much for joining us, sir, and congratulations on your great work. And this has been a great hour. Thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you, Rob. It was a great pleasure. I'd love to come back.
You will, my friend. Take care of yourself, sir.
Okay.
X-Zone Nation, Robert Buettner has been our guest this hour. That was a great conversation. Wow. I really enjoyed that. Now, when we come back from the news at the top of the hour at 6.5 minutes past, I'll be talking to another young person. We're going to be speaking to Angela Artemis. We're going to be talking to her about, intuition. She's an intuitive coach, and we're going to talk to her about the intuition principle. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell. I'll be back on the other side of this break with some words from our fine sponsors. And for those of you whose stations and networks carry the news, after your local news and national news. 1-800-610-7035, worldwide toll-free. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV. And our main website where you can listen to the X-Zone 724-365, www.xzoneradiotv.com. My name is Rob McConnell. This is the X-Zone. Don't go away.